MT Channel Business Services.
Welcome, dear followers, to MT Channel. Now, if you work in the kingdom, or you're even thinking about it, you're going to want to pay close attention. We're about to break down the first 17 articles of the Saudi labor law. Think of these as the absolute bedrock of every single employment contract here. And hey, to make sure you never miss out on our future explainers, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. All right, let's jump right in. And listen, don't think of this as some dry, complicated legal document. It's not. This is basically the blueprint for your entire professional life in Saudi Arabia. To make it super easy to follow, we've broken it down into 5 key parts. We'll start by unlocking the law's main purpose, then we'll get into the language of work, figure out who the law covers, go over the non-negotiable golden rules, and wrap it up with the employer's playbook. Simple as that. So, first things first, let's unlock this law. These first few articles, they're not just a warm-up. They are the actual fundamental building blocks for the whole system. Everything else rests on this foundation. Okay, on to Section 2, the language of work. You know, before we can even talk about rights and responsibilities, we have to be speaking the same language. Getting these key terms right is, well, it's the key to understanding everything that follows. So, the law kicks off with the 2 main players on the field. Article 2 tells us a worker is anyone who works for an employer under their direction for a wage. Yeah, it sounds pretty basic, right? But this simple definition is what officially establishes the relationship that this entire law is built to protect and regulate. Now, here's a little detail that trips a lot of people up: the difference between temporary and casual work. The absolute key difference is this: is the job part of the employer's normal, day-to-day business? If it is, that's temporary work. If it's a one-off task outside their main business and it lasts 90 days or less, that's casual work. This isn't just semantics, it can totally change the legal status of a job. And of course, let's talk about the money. The law actually defines 2 different kinds of wages. You've got the basic wage, that's the number you see in your contract. But the one you really need to focus on is the actual wage. This is your basic pay plus all the other benefits and extras you're entitled to. It's the real bottom line, your total compensation. So what exactly can be bundled into that actual wage? Well, Article 2 makes it clear it's a pretty long list. We're talking commissions, allowances for things like risky work, cost of living adjustments, performance bonuses, and even in-kind benefits like company-provided housing. So you always have to look at the whole package, not just that basic salary number. All right, Section 3, who the law covers. Now that we've got the lingo down, let's figure out who is actually protected by all this. This is all about the law's reach, so let's see if you're in. So this is the big question, right? Does this law actually apply to you? Are you under its umbrella of rules and protections? Well, according to Article 5, the answer is probably yes. It's incredibly broad. The law covers pretty much every single employment contract in the kingdom. We're not just talking about the private sector. It also includes employees in government, public institutions, and even charitable organizations. It even covers folks on training contracts and part-timers. It's a really wide net of protection. But just as important as knowing who's in is knowing who's out. Like any law, this one has some specific exceptions. Article 7 lays out these specific groups. For example, it exempts an employer's family members in a small, family-only business. It also excludes sports players, domestic workers, and certain agricultural workers. Now, this is important. This doesn't mean they have 0 rights. Many of these groups are actually covered by their own separate sets of regulations. Let's move on to Section 4, the golden rules. Think of these as the unbreakable, non-negotiable principles that set the entire tone for every single workplace in the kingdom. And it all kicks off with this really powerful statement from Article 3. The law straight up says that work is a right, and it explicitly bans any discrimination based on gender, disability, age, or anything else. This is the absolute bedrock of fairness. Beyond that core principle, there are a few other huge rules. First, your legal rights are king, and we'll get more into that in a second. Second, Arabic is the official language. That means if you have a contract in 2 languages and there's a disagreement, the Arabic version wins. Third, the Hijri calendar is the default for all dates. unless your contract specifically says otherwise. And finally, if your company outsources your job, the new contractor has to give you the exact same rates and benefits as the original team. And this leads us to what might be the single most important golden rule of them all, straight from Article 8. Get this. You cannot sign away your basic rights. Period. Any part of a contract that gives you fewer protections than what this law provides is completely null and void. The law is the minimum safety net, and no piece of paper can take that away from you. Which brings us perfectly to our final section, the employer's playbook. We've talked a lot about principles and rights, so now let's flip the coin and look at what the law actually makes employers do. The law sets out some really clear, practical ditties, and it's all about transparency. Employers have to create and post work regulations where everyone can see them. They must officially appoint a manager who's responsible for the workplace. And they have to put up clear schedules for work hours and days off. No secrets, no guesswork. And employers can't just operate in the dark either. Article 15 says they have to formally register with the labor office when they open. They need to provide all the key info, their name, location, what they do, how many people they're hiring, and, this is a big one, the name of the manager who is officially in charge. You see what's happening here? All of these rules point back to the law's main goal, to build a system based on total transparency and accountability right from the very first day of business. These aren't just friendly suggestions, they're requirements meant to make sure every workplace is fair, organized, and playing by the book. So, there you have it. We've gone through the blueprints, the definitions, the protections, and the playbook. You now have a really solid grasp of the foundations of Saudi labor law. But that leaves us with one last massive question. What happens when somebody actually breaks these rules? Well, that's a whole other can of worms, and definitely a topic for another explainer. For today, just knowing these foundational rules is the absolute first, and I'd say most important, step you can take to protect yourself in the workplace. Thank you so much for watching. We really hope this breakdown was clear and helpful for you. If it was, please give the video a like and share it with your friends so that everyone can benefit from this knowledge. And of course, remember to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss our next explainer. We'll see you then.